The ultimatum. Commander Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the Luna station, watching Earth rotate slowly beneath her. The blue marble looked peaceful from here, its white clouds swirling across continents where billions of people lived their daily lives. They had no idea that everything was about to change forever. The first sign came as a shadow. Not the familiar shadow of Earth blocking sunlight, but something else entirely. Sarah's sensors screamed warnings as massive shapes materialized in space around Earth's orbit. Ships. Hundreds of them, each one the size of a city, their hulls gleaming like polished obsidian under the harsh light of space. "Commander Chen, we're receiving a transmission on all frequencies," reported Lieutenant Torres from the communication station. His young face had gone pale as he stared at his screens. It's everywhere. Every radio, every television, every satellite dish on Earth and in space. They're broadcasting simultaneously. Sarah felt her stomach drop. This was it. First contact. After decades of scanning the stars and wondering if humanity was alone, the answer had arrived in the most terrifying way possible. "Put it through," she ordered, her voice steady, despite the fear coursing through her veins. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a creature that made everyone on the bridge step backward instinctively. Emperor Kraxin stood nearly 9 feet tall, his body covered in scales that shifted from deep purple to black depending on the light. 4 arms extended from his torso, each ending in clawed hands that could crush a human skull. His head was elongated, with 6 eyes arranged in pairs that seemed to look in multiple directions at once. When he spoke, his voice resonated with harmonics that made human bones vibrate. "Inhabitants of the third planet," Emperor Kraxin began, his words somehow translated perfectly into every human language simultaneously. "I am Emperor Kraxin of the Zephyrian Empire. We have observed your species for some time now. Your primitive technology, your divided nations, your constant warfare among yourselves. How disappointing." Sarah exchanged glances with her bridge crew. None of them moved, afraid that any sudden motion might provoke whatever was coming next. "The Zephyrian Empire spans 14 galaxies," the alien emperor continued. "We have brought order to chaos, unity to division, purpose to countless species. Today, we extend this same gift to humanity." His 6 eyes seemed to focus directly on the camera, as if he could see every human watching. "You will surrender unconditionally within 72 of your Earth hours. You will dismantle all military forces. You will provide 40% of your population for labor in our mining operations. Your most intelligent individuals will serve in our research facilities. Your leaders will be replaced by our governors." A chill ran down Sarah's spine as the Emperor's demands continued. She had studied military history her entire career, but this was beyond anything humans had ever faced. The Zephyrian fleet contained more firepower than every weapon humanity had ever built combined. "Some of you may consider resistance," Emperor Kraxin said, and Sarah could swear she detected amusement in his alien voice. "This would be unwise. We have conquered over 4,000 species across the known universe. Each believed themselves special. Each thought they could fight. Each learned the futility of opposing the Empire." The screen showed images of devastated worlds, their surfaces scared and lifeless. "These civilizations chose destruction over submission. We trust humanity will prove more intelligent." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in shocked silence. Sarah's mind raced as she processed what they had just witnessed. Surrender meant the end of human freedom forever. Resistance meant almost certain extinction. Either choice seemed impossible. Her communication console erupted with incoming calls from Earth. President Williams, the Secretary General of the United Nations, military commanders from every major nation, scientists, world leaders all trying to make sense of what they had just witnessed. Sarah took a deep breath and opened the priority channel to Earth Defense Command. "This is Commander Chen at Luna Station. I'm seeing the same readings you are. Approximately 300 vessels, each one larger than our biggest space stations. Energy signatures unlike anything in our databases. Estimated crew capacity. She paused, running the numbers again. Conservative estimate puts their total personnel at over 2 million. General Rodriguez's gruff voice crackled through the speakers. What about their weapons, Commander? Sarah looked at her tactical officer, who shook his head grimly. Unknown technology, sir. Based on energy emissions, each ship appears capable of surface bombardment that would make our nuclear arsenals look like firecrackers. Equals. Based on our analysis of their transmission and ship configurations, the Zephyrians operate on a philosophy of overwhelming superiority. Dr. Webb explained, projecting holographic displays of the alien fleet. They conquered thousands of species by demonstrating power so absolute that resistance seems impossible. They expect us to surrender because every other species has. President Williams leaned forward in her chair. What are our options, Doctor? Dr. Webb's expression grew grim. Conventional warfare is suicide. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Their numbers are overwhelming. In a direct confrontation, humanity would cease to exist within hours. Then we surrender, suggested the Chinese premier, his voice heavy with defeat. We preserve what we can of our species and hope for better days. No. The voice came from Captain Lisa Park, the youngest person in the room and commander of humanity's small but growing space fleet. All eyes turned to her as she stood up, her uniform crisp despite having been awake for 36 hours straight. With respect, sir, we don't surrender. We adapt. General Rodriguez frowned. Captain, the numbers don't lie. We're outgunned, outmanned, and out-technologized. What exactly do you propose? Captain Park walked to the holographic display, her hands moving confidently across the controls. The image shifted to show Earth's solar system, with indicators marking human settlements from Luna City to the mining stations around Jupiter. The Zephyrians conquer through intimidation and overwhelming force, she explained. They expect their enemies to meet them in traditional battle formations, where superior technology guarantees victory. But what if we don't fight them the way they expect? Dr. Webb's eyes lit up with understanding. Asymmetric warfare. Guerrilla tactics on a solar system scale. Exactly, Captain Park continued. We have advantages they don't expect. We know every asteroid, every moon, every hiding place in this system. Our ships are smaller and faster. Our manufacturing is distributed across dozens of facilities. Most importantly, we're fighting for our home. President Williams stood up, her decision made. What do you need? The next 48 hours saw the most remarkable transformation in human history. Across Earth and throughout the solar system, ordinary people became part of the greatest military mobilization ever attempted. Civilian cargo ships were retrofitted with weapons. Mining lasers were converted into ship-cutting tools. Even luxury space yachts were transformed into fast attack vessels. On Titan, engineer Michael Santos worked without sleep, converting the methane processing plants into explosive manufacturing facilities. His team of technicians, most of whom had never seen combat, welded armor plating and weapon mounts with desperate efficiency. Remember, Santos told his exhausted crew, we're not trying to build better ships than theirs. We're building different ships. Fast, cheap, and expendable. Swarm tactics instead of battleship confrontations. In the asteroid belt, Captain Park coordinated with mining crews to prepare the most audacious trap in military history. Thousands of automated mining drones were reprogrammed with new instructions. Instead of extracting valuable metals, they would extract something far more precious: humanity's freedom. Commander Sarah Chen received her final orders as the 72-hour deadline approached. Her Luna station would serve as the command center for Operation Prometheus, named after the Titan who stole fire from the gods. The irony wasn't lost on her. Humanity was about to steal victory from beings who considered themselves gods. As she watched Earth turn slowly beneath her station, Sarah thought about her daughter attending university in Melbourne, her parents retired in Florida, the billions of people who depended on decisions made in the next few hours. The weight of responsibility felt crushing, but also clarifying. Her communication officer interrupted her thoughts. "Commander, we're receiving another transmission from the Zephyrian flagship. Emperor Kraxon is requesting our surrender." Sarah straightened her uniform and checked her appearance in the reflection of her console screen. In a few moments, she would deliver humanity's response to the Zephyrian Empire. The words had been debated, refined, and approved by every world leader. Now it fell to her to speak for the entire human race. "Put him through," she ordered. Emperor Kraxon appeared on the main screen, his 6 eyes showing what might have been amusement. "Commander Chen of the human military, your 72 hours have expired. We await your surrender." Sarah looked directly into the camera, knowing that her words would be broadcast across both Earth and the Zephyrian fleet. Behind her stood representatives from every human nation, united for the first time in their species' history. "Emperor Kraxon," she began, her voice carrying the weight of every human who had ever fought for freedom. "I have consulted with the leaders of humanity. We have carefully considered your generous offer to become your slaves." She paused, letting the silence stretch across space. "Our answer is no." The Emperor's expression shifted, confusion replacing amusement. In 300 years of conquest, no species had ever refused the Empire's terms. "We are humans," Sarah continued, her voice growing stronger. "We have spent our entire history fighting for the right to determine our own destiny. We have died for freedom, bled for it, and sacrificed everything to preserve it. We will not surrender that legacy to you or anyone else." Emperor Kraxon's 4 arms tensed, his claws extending. "You choose extinction over submission. Your species is even more primitive than we calculated." "We choose neither," Sarah replied. "We choose something your empire has never encountered before. We choose to fight back." The transmission ended, leaving both fleets facing each other across the void of space. Humanity had just declared war on an empire that had conquered galaxies. The odds were impossible, the enemy overwhelming, and the stakes could not be higher. But somewhere in the asteroid belt, Captain Park smiled as her modified mining drones moved into position. In the manufacturing stations around Jupiter, Dr. Webb's converted factories began producing weapons designed not for traditional warfare, but for something entirely new. Humanity was about to teach the galaxy that there was a difference between conquest and victory. The Zephyrian Empire was about to discover why humans had survived ice ages, plagues, and wars to reach the stars. They were about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one with nothing left to lose. The first shots of the war were still hours away, but the real battle had already begun. It was a battle not just for survival, but for the right of any species to choose its own fate. Earth's blue skies reflected the light of alien ships, but humanity's fire burned brighter than ever before. The firestorm. Emperor Kraxon stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominator, staring at the small blue planet that had dared to defy the Zephyrian Empire. His 6 eyes burned with rage as he processed the impossible response he had received. In 3 centuries of conquest, no species had ever said no to the Empire's terms. "Tactical Officer Vex," he commanded, his voice resonating through the bridge. "Prepare to demonstrate the consequences of defiance. Target their largest population center." The reptilian tactical officer's scales shifted nervously. "Sir, their largest city contains over 12 million inhabitants. Surely a smaller demonstration will." 12 million deaths will send the proper message," Kraxon interrupted. "Fire when ready." The Dominator's main weapon charged with a sound like thunder. Energy readings spiked across the ship's systems as enough power to vaporize a mountain focused into a single devastating beam. On Earth, sensors detected the energy buildup, and emergency broadcasts filled every communication channel. Commander Sarah Chen watched helplessly from Luna Station as the alien weapon prepared to fire. Her hands gripped the railing of her command deck, knuckles white with tension. This was it, the moment when humanity would learn the true cost of defiance. The beam lanced out from the Zephyrian flagship, a column of pure destruction aimed at the heart of human civilization. But instead of striking New York City, it hit something else entirely. A massive cargo freighter, the Shanghai Express, had positioned itself directly in the beam's path. The ship vaporized instantly, its sacrifice buying precious seconds for the city below. Captain James Liu had commanded the Shanghai Express for 15 years, carrying everything from medical supplies to luxury goods across the solar system. Now his final cargo was hope itself. His last transmission crackled across every human frequency. For Earth, for humanity, for freedom. The sacrifice of the Shanghai Express triggered something the Zephyrians had never seen before. Across the solar system, hundreds of human vessels began moving simultaneously. Not in formation, not following traditional military doctrine, but in a chaotic swarm that defied every tactical manual ever written. From the asteroid belt, Captain Lisa Park coordinated the most audacious military operation in human history. All units, this is Prometheus Command. Operation Burning Sky is now active. Remember, we're not trying to win a traditional battle. We're trying to survive long enough to show them what humans do when they're cornered. The first wave consisted of converted mining ships and cargo haulers, vessels never designed for combat, but now bristling with improvised weapons. They emerged from hiding spots throughout the solar system, behind asteroids, in the shadows of moons, even disguised as space debris. Admiral Thex, Craxon's second-in-command, watched his sensors with growing confusion. Emperor, we're detecting over 3,000 contacts moving toward our fleet. But these vessels, they're civilian craft. Mining ships, cargo haulers, even luxury cruisers. Emperor Craxon's expression showed contempt. They send their merchants and miners against the Empire's finest warships. This is not warfare, it's suicide. What happened next changed the course of galactic history. The human swarm didn't attack in waves or formations. Instead, they came from every direction at once, their smaller ships darting between the massive Zephyrian vessels like angry wasps around giants. The Empire's weapons, designed to engage large warships in traditional battle lines, struggled to track the smaller, faster human craft. Dr. Marcus Webb had calculated this moment perfectly. From his command post in the converted research station Newton's Folly, he watched as his theories about asymmetric warfare played out in real time. The Zephyrians expect us to fight like they do, he explained to his staff as they monitored the battle. Big ships, big weapons, big formations, but humans learned warfare from predators and prey, not just other predators. Sometimes the wolf pack wins through coordination and cunning, not individual strength. The first human ship to reach the Zephyrian line was the converted mining vessel Pickaxe, commanded by a former asteroid miner named Rosa Martinez. Her crew of 12 included a retired teacher, 2 college students, and a grandmother who had volunteered for duty despite being 73 years old. Remember, we're not trying to destroy their ship, Martinez told her crew as they approached the massive Zephyrian cruiser Subjugator. We just need to blind it long enough for the next wave to get through. The Pickaxe's converted mining lasers weren't powerful enough to penetrate the alien ship's armor, but they were perfect for overloading sensor arrays and communication systems. As the small human vessel darted around the huge Zephyrian cruiser, it systematically targeted every sensor dish and communication antenna it could find. What are they doing? Admiral Thex demanded as his sensors began failing. These weapons cannot harm our ships. But the humans weren't trying to destroy the Zephyrian vessels. They were trying to blind them. As the Pickaxe finished its work and peeled away, 3 more human ships took its place, each targeting different systems on the alien cruiser. Communications, sensors, point defense systems, everything that made the massive ship effective in battle. By the time the Zephyrians understood the human strategy, it was too late. Dozens of their ships had been effectively neutralized, not destroyed but rendered helpless and blind. And that's when the second wave arrived. Captain Park had saved her ace for this moment. From the asteroid belt came a sight that defied belief. Thousands of automated mining drones, each one smaller than a fighter craft, but moving with perfect coordination. Dr. Webb had reprogrammed them with one simple instruction: find the largest enemy ship and attach themselves to its hull. The drones swarmed over the Zephyrian flagship like metal insects. Individually, they were harmless. Together, they created a problem the Empire's engineers had never anticipated. As hundreds of drones attached themselves to the Dominator's hull, their combined mass began affecting the ship's maneuverability and power distribution. "Get these parasites off my ship," Emperor Kraxon roared, but his crew was discovering another human innovation. The drones had been coated with a substance that interfered with Zephyrian scanner technology, making them nearly impossible to target precisely. While the Empire's fleet struggled with the drone swarm, the third wave of human ships moved into attack position. These were the real warships, converted military vessels, patrol craft, and the handful of purpose-built combat ships that represented humanity's entire space navy. Commander Sarah Chen led this final assault in the heavy cruiser Defiance, humanity's most advanced warship. Compared to the Zephyrian vessels, it was a toy. But toys, as any human child could tell you, could sometimes surprise adults. Commander Sarah Chen led this final assault in the heavy cruiser Defiance, humanity's most advanced warship. Compared to the Zephyrian vessels, it was a toy. But toys, as any human child could tell you, could sometimes surprise adults. All ships, this is Commander Chen. Target their weapon systems only. We don't need to destroy them. We just need to remove their ability to hurt Earth. The human warships had one advantage the Zephyrians hadn't anticipated. They were designed by a species that had learned warfare through necessity, not conquest. Every human military vessel incorporated lessons learned from fighting other humans, beings who were equally intelligent, equally motivated, and equally desperate. The Defiance engaged the Zephyrian heavy cruiser destroyer in single combat, a battle that should have lasted seconds. The alien ship was 3 times larger, with weapons that could vaporize the human vessel with a single shot. But the Defiance didn't fight like the Zephyrians expected. Instead of trading shots in a traditional duel, the human ship used its superior maneuverability to stay in the alien vessel's blind spots. It struck at weapon systems, engine ports, and command centers with surgical precision. Within minutes, the mighty destroyer was adrift, its weapons offline, and its crew struggling to regain control. The battle that was supposed to last hours and end in humanity's extinction instead became a masterclass in creative warfare. Human ships worked in coordinated groups, using tactics borrowed from everything from wolf-pack hunting to playground games. They turned the Zephyrian size and power against them, making their advantages into weaknesses. Lieutenant Torres, now serving as communications officer aboard the Defiance, monitored transmissions from across the battlefield. What he heard brought tears to his eyes. Ordinary humans, facing impossible odds, were finding ways to turn their desperation into strength. "Commander Chen," he reported, his voice choked with emotion. "The cargo hauler Sweet Dreams just rammed the Zephyrian destroyer Conqueror. The impact disabled their main engines. Captain Morrison's last words were, 'Tell my kids their daddy loved them more than life itself.'" Throughout the battle, similar stories emerged. The luxury yacht Golden Sunset used its speed to draw fire away from damaged human ships. The research vessel Carl Sagan turned its deep space sensors into targeting systems for other human vessels. Even the garbage scow recycler found a way to contribute, using its industrial manipulator arms to physically tear sensor arrays from alien hulls. But the moment that changed everything came when Emperor Kraxon himself entered the battle. Frustrated by his fleet's poor performance against the human swarm, he took direct control of the Dominator's weapon systems. "Enough of this foolishness," he declared. "I will show these primitives the true power of the Empire." The Dominator's massive weapons swiveled toward Earth, preparing to unleash destruction that would end billions of lives. The human fleet was too far away to intercept, their weapons too weak to stop the alien flagship. For a moment, it seemed that humanity's defiance would end in the ultimate tragedy. That's when Captain Maria Santos made her choice. Commander of the space tug Heavy Lifter, She had spent the battle rescuing damaged human ships and evacuating their crews. Now she sought a chance to save not just a few lives, but all life on Earth. "This is Captain Santos to all human forces," she broadcast on all frequencies. "The heavy lifter is making its final run. Tell Earth. Tell them we never stopped fighting." The converted space tug, loaded with every piece of explosive cargo Santos could find, accelerated toward the Zephyrian flagship at maximum velocity. The Dominator's point defense systems opened fire, but the small human vessel jinked and weaved with desperate skill. Emperor Kraxen watched the approaching tug with contempt. A single cargo vessel against the flagship of the Empire. This is their final gambit. What he didn't realize was that Captain Santos wasn't trying to destroy his ship. She was trying to save her world. The heavy lifter struck the Dominator not in its armored hull, but in the exact spot where thousands of mining drones had attached themselves. The explosion, amplified by the drone's energy systems, created a chain reaction that rippled through the flagship's power grid. The Dominator didn't explode. Instead, it went dark. Every system, every weapon, every light shut down as the massive ship drifted helplessly in space. Emperor Kraxen found himself commanding a tomb of metal and circuits, his mighty flagship reduced to cosmic debris. The psychological impact on the Zephyrian fleet was immediate and devastating. For 3 centuries, they had conquered through overwhelming technological superiority. Now they watched their most powerful vessel defeated by a garbage hauler and some mining equipment. Admiral Thex's voice crackled over the fleet communications. "Emperor, we're receiving surrender requests from 17 of our vessels. The crews they're afraid." Across the battlefield, human ships continued their relentless assault, not trying to destroy the alien vessels, but to capture them. Boarding parties of human Marines, many of them volunteers with no military training, swept through disabled Zephyrian ships with a ferocity that terrified their alien enemies. Dr. Webb had anticipated this moment as well. The Zephyrians conquer through fear, he had explained during the planning sessions. But fear works both ways. When the hunters become the hunted, when the conquerors face defeat, they often discover they lack the will to fight that comes from defending one's home. The battle's turning point came when news of humanity's resistance began spreading beyond the solar system. The Zephyrian Empire had suppressed communication between conquered worlds for centuries, but they couldn't stop the news that somewhere, someone was fighting back. On the mining world of Kepler 442 bits, enslaved Sendari workers whispered the story to each other in their dormitories. On the factory planet of Wolf 359, Thraxian laborers found new hope in the tale of human defiance. Across 14 galaxies, billions of conquered beings heard the same impossible story. The humans had said no. Emperor Kraxen, trapped aboard his powerless flagship, received reports that chilled his alien blood. Uprisings on 12 worlds. 3 sector governors requesting immediate reinforcement. The impossible was happening. The Empire's subjects were remembering what freedom felt like. "This cannot be," he muttered, his 6 eyes scanning damage reports from across his fleet. "We are the Empire. We are inevitable. We err. You are defeated." Commander Sarah Chen's voice cut through his thoughts. The human had managed to establish communication with the Dominator, her image appearing on the flagship's emergency screens. "Impossible," Kraxen hissed. "We have conquered thousands of species. We have weapons that can crack planets. We have fleets that span galaxies." Sarah's expression was calm, almost gentle. "You have all of that, Emperor, but you've never fought anyone who had something worth dying for. You've conquered species that were afraid of death. We're not afraid of death. We're afraid of living without freedom." The final human assault came not from warships or weapons, but from something the Zephyrians had never encountered: mercy. Instead of destroying the disabled alien fleet, humanity offered terms: medical aid for wounded Zephyrian crews, safe passage home for those who wished to leave, even asylum for those who chose to stay and learn about human concepts like democracy and individual rights. The gesture broke something fundamental in the Zephyrian command structure. They had been taught that conquest was natural, that the strong ruled the weak by right. But here were humans, clearly the victors, offering kindness to their defeated enemies. Emperor Kraxen's final transmission to his homeworld was barely coherent. The humans, they fight like demons but show mercy like angels. I do not understand this species. I do not understand how they could defeat us. Send no more fleets to this system. These beings they are something we have never encountered before. As the Zephyrian fleet limped away from human space, leaving behind their damaged vessels and wounded pride, something extraordinary happened. The news of humanity's victory spread faster than light itself, carried by refugees, traders, and the growing network of resistance movements across the galaxy. For the first time in centuries, the Zephyrian Empire faced rebellions on dozens of worlds. Species that had been enslaved for generations suddenly remembered what their ancestors had fought for. The Empire's iron grip on the galaxy began to crack, and through those cracks, the light of freedom began to shine. On Earth, Commander Sarah Chen stood once again on her observation deck, watching the blue planet turn slowly beneath her. The alien ships were gone, but their visit had changed humanity forever. They were no longer alone in the universe, and they had proven that freedom was not just a human concept. It was a universal right worth fighting for. Dr. Webb joined her at the observation window, his normally messy hair even more disheveled after days without sleep. "What happens now?" he asked. Sarah smiled, thinking of Captain Santos, Captain Liu, and all the others who had paid the ultimate price for this moment. "Now we help others learn what we've always known, that freedom isn't something you're given. It's something you take." In the months that followed, human ships would venture beyond the solar system, not as conquerors, but as liberators. They would teach other species the tactics that had defeated the Empire, share the technologies that had leveled the playing field, and most importantly, spread the idea that no being should bow to another. The Empire had demanded submission. Humanity had answered with fire. But from the ashes of that cosmic battle, something beautiful had emerged. Proof that in a universe full of predators, there could still be those who chose to protect rather than conquer, who valued freedom over power, and who understood that the greatest strength comes not from weapons or numbers, but from the unbreakable will of beings fighting for their right to exist free. The war for humanity's survival had ended. The war for galactic freedom had just begun.